Hey everybody, how's it going? Bear with me just a minute. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to talk about nostalgia. I hope you can hear me because I don't have my mic on. If you didn't know it, my real name is J, just the letter J, because it's short for Jerome. No, just joking. It's short for Jerry. But I usually just spell my name as the letter J. A lot of people spell it J-A-Y, and that's fine. I've grown up with it all my life. But just remember that, because it's going to come in to the story later on down the line. I don't even know where to start it at. Was going through some pictures last night. And of course, you know, when you're going through old pictures, which is something that people don't even have anymore because we don't keep pictures anymore. They're all on cameras and phones and up here in the cloud and all that. But I was going through a box of pictures that we'd found, and I ran across some old photos that just triggered a memory, and I wanted to talk about it just a little bit. I was probably, I don't know if I was even a teenager yet. I can't remember. But if I wasn't very old. 13, 14, something like that, I don't remember. And that's been a while. Without getting into my age, that's been a while. But when I was a kid, I used to love professional wrestling. Just loved it. There was the whole, I guess what drew it to me was the whole good versus evil, or good guy versus bad guy. I just loved that stuff. And if I ever had a chance to catch it on television, I would watch it. And of course, I had my heroes and things like that, and there were always, you know, those characters are always larger than life on television. So it didn't take much for an impressionable teenage boy like me that, you know, that's what I wanted to do. And that's another story all in itself. But anyway, when I was a kid, I mean, you remember family vacations and you remember, you know, things from your childhood, but this one stood out to me, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. I had a hero, and it's kind of relevant nowadays because they just did a movie on his family. His name was Kerry Von Erich. And they just did a movie on his family called The Iron Claw. If you want to look that up, I'll try to tag it down in the comments or whatever. And it's a tragedy, his story. His whole family story is a tragedy. But when I was a child, the Von Erichs were superstars in Texas. And late on Saturday nights at like 10 o'clock on a Saturday night here in Arkansas, you could catch a replay of their televised show. And my parents used to let me stay up and watch that. And that's where I just fell in love with it. And but they were from Texas, and that seemed like a world away, you know, to a young man, or a young child, I should say. But was listening to the radio one day, and they advertised that Kerry Von Erich was going to be in this little town. It's a couple hours away from here, and I thought that's as close as I'm ever going to get. But I don't know how I'm going to get there. I'm not going to drive myself. My parents thought pro wrestling was stupid. You know, not stupid, I shouldn't say that. They just didn't understand what I saw in it. And like most things kids nowadays, as parents, we don't understand what our kids are into, what they're into, you know. So I'm not blaming them by no means. But I talked my dad into taking me. This was on like a Friday or a Saturday night at this town. And I did not think that my dad was going to do it, because he didn't give a rat's rear end about wrestling. But he did. He took me and my little brother Scott. And we went to this town, and you know, I really don't think my dad had a very good time. He worked the camera, and I'm sure he did not have a very good time at all. But I do think he probably got the biggest kick out of me and my little brother, because he knew that they were there just to put on a show. But us kids, you know, it was real to us, and that's what's so beautiful about pro wrestling, is, you know, it's just your imagination can go wild. Even my little brother, I'll never will forget, when Kerry was coming to the ring, my little brother jumped on his back, and and Kerry rode him almost to the ring, and then Scott had to get off, of course. But anyway, we watched their match and all that stuff, and I never will forget that. And that sounds like a silly memory, but I never will forget that. And what brought it up was these pictures, and I wanted to show them to you, because some of them are pretty interesting. And I don't know until I watch the video back if it's going to show everything backwards or not, but I just wanted to show you. This redheaded guy right here, that redheaded guy was known as the Master of Pain. I'm getting reflection, so you probably ain't going to be able to see it very well. That was the Master of Pain, who later would go on to become the world famous Undertaker. And this guy, dressed up like the evil villain in the movie The Road Warrior, this guy, his name was Lord Humongous. Now, this man's name was Sid Vicious, and he just died last week. I believe he passed away from cancer. But while we were there, of course, you know, back then, and look, this venue only held maybe 400 or 500 people. I don't even know if there was that many people there. But the wrestlers would sit around, or maybe not the wrestlers, but their valets or the people that were there that brought them to the show would sit around with little tables selling 8x10s and 5x7 pictures of the wrestlers and all that, or so much for an autograph. Well, my dad, he ended up letting me buy this picture of Kerry, and I'll show it to you here. That was my hero. And as we were leaving, I took the picture, and I went to the lady who was selling his merchandise, and I said, "Ma'am, could we please get Kerry to sign this picture?" And she said, "Oh no, he's not signing pictures. He's in the shower right now. He's not signing tonight. Sorry." And my dad, when I come back, I told him what they had said, and my dad, he grabbed the picture out of my hand, and he went back up there to that lady, and he said, "Ma'am, could you get Kerry to sign this picture for me?" And she told him, "Oh no, he's not signing pictures." And Dad said, "Please, ma'am, we've came a long way just to get Kerry's picture and to get his autograph." So the lady kind of sighed. This is me just imagining. I wasn't there at the time. The lady kind of sighed, and she walked back down the ramp towards the dressing room, and she may have went around the corner and signed the picture herself. I do not know. But when she came back, she signed the picture. And over the years, it's kind of faded and things, but you can still plainly see what it says. And I'm going to show it to you. This is what Carrie supposedly wrote. It's probably backwards. It's probably backwards, but I'm just going to kind of read it to you. It says, to Jane and Scott, best wishes, Carrie. Now, if you heard that right, it says to Jane, Jane, and Scott, best wishes. So I got my picture and I got my autograph from my hero, but I guess when my dad told her that it was for Jay and Scott, she misheard the J part and said Jane. So anyway, that's my nostalgic story that I wanted to tell. And I just want to say this. Some people aren't as blessed as I am to still have my parents around. And I want to say to my dad, thank you. Because for such a little thing that he did that day, and I'm not talking about the autograph and all, I don't care. Just for taking me there, I never will forget that. It's been a long time. I'm not going to say how many years ago that was, but I can still remember that day vividly. And I want to say thank you, Dad. I love you, and I sure appreciate the memory of that day that you give me.